I'd have to assume that would be you. I'll go ahead and check YouTube to make sure. Just doing a quick outfitting video to showcase my Anaconda build for a community member on a group I joined on Facebook recently. This is a heavily engineered Anaconda. I've spent a lot of time on it. It's not exactly where I want it to be at quite yet, but it's getting there. And reason I stuck with some larger multi-cannons is because they have a relatively low power draw for a decent amount of DPS to hull, whereas lasers don't quite get the damage out on hull. Someone was saying that they wanted to do a couple of beam turrets, and while beam turrets are pretty good, relatively accurate, and the AI isn't too dumb about how they aim, they do have a really high power draw, even on a small mount. So let's start off with weapons I'm using. I'm using an overcharged G5 multi-cannon with autoloader. I'm probably going to be switching this back to incendiary. I was trying to see if I liked any or noticed any extra DPS I got from running autoloader on it rather than just increased damage and thermal. And the only time I really have any thermal problems is whenever I am popping a shield cell. And we got a corrosive multi-cannon large, high capacity 4, as to not give it too much of a reload time increase, but it's still pretty rough. I use this in bursts to give a 30% damage debuff to incoming damage on targets that I fire it at. I don't hold it down for damage, I pretty much just use it to apply the debuff. And I could probably do with switching it to a one of the lower small mounts instead of using this Scramble Spectrum pulse laser, but that's how it is for now. I do run turreted burst lasers on top for some extra damage. I'm using phasing sequence. I'm not really a fan. I feel like I lose damage on that, and it's not really that much bleed through for it to be necessary. I think I'd rather have thermal shock or scramble spectrum on these instead, and I'll probably be switching them to that eventually. I have it set to focused, so it does more damage up close. However, for those of you that don't know, focus will give you an increased damage output and a longer range. However, there's still a damage drop-off, whereas if you put long range on a laser weapon, there is no damage fall off. It'll do 100% damage up to its max range, which is incredibly good. And as you can see there, 885 meters on the damage fall off start. While it is more than 500, it is still pretty close. Sometimes I'm engaging targets 5Ks out. On the sides here, I'm running the identical overcharged 5 thermal shock pulse lasers. These do have a pretty heavy draw. And I do notice it if I have less than 4 pips in my weapons. However, I pretty much just play a balancing act. Whenever I'm not getting shot up, I put some powers away from my, some pips away from my shields and put them onto my weapons, and it equalizes out pretty well. This beam laser down here I use simply for thermal venting. It keeps my heat buildup low, so all my weapons can fire with that issue. As you can see, most of these weapons on here are turreted. The reason being is that the Anaconda is such a large ship with so many hard points. You can suffer the DPS loss of using a turret weapon and not really have to worry as far as damage output, because you just have a sheer number of weapons you're firing. The multi-cannons are basically just there to finish off a ship. Some of the bigger, like cutters and some other Anacondas, stuff like that, speed it along. This cannon right here is very, very good at sniping out modules. If you're, say, above or below an Anaconda, you can hit that power plant no problem. It definitely has no problem hitting that. As far as utility mounts go, I run 2 heat sinks. I run one for each power cell that I run. Shield cell, I mean. The shield cell banks need to be paired with a heat sink. If you're not pairing them with a heat sink, you're going to cook yourself alive. You're going to cause yourself more harm than good. I'm running 1 point defense on top of my ship at the back, and I'm running 1 point defense on the underside up front. This is kind of give me a full coverage. This game does recognize that it can't shoot through your own ship to hit missiles, so it's only going to shoot what it sees in front of you. So you want to have, you know, decent coverage. Yeah, some missiles will get through, but for the most part, point defense does a pretty good job of taking out missiles. All my shield boosters have been modified. Some for resistance, others for like raw heavy duty. It's a little bit of thermal there, so my shields can take more of a thermal beating. It is noticeable, but not entirely necessary. 7A shield generator, reinforced shields G4. I do want to get this at the G5, but it's not really at the top of my list of priorities right now. Shield cells I leave unmodded. I can probably specialize them, but I haven't got around to it quite yet. Fighter bay, 8 fighters each. I do run a AI pilot. She's up to dangerous recently. Heavy duty hull reinforcement G4. I believe I just unlocked the lady that lets me get G5 as well. She does 4, I believe, but I didn't have the materials at the time. A little bit of cargo space, never know when it'll be coming in handy. I cannot really recommend running anything lower than a 5 slot fuel scoop. You will be sitting at a star waiting for that that fuel tank to refill. A little bit of module reinforcement. Sometimes shield cells cook you a little bit. This will help a small amount with that, so you don't cause great harm to yourself. Plus, if your shields do in fact go down, shield cells are no longer worth having, and this will block a fair bit of incoming damage. You don't really realize how much a 4D does until you lose your shields and, oh shit, my engines are going to go offline, or oh, my shield generator is going to get shot up and I won't even be able to get my shields back up. This makes a big difference. It can be the meaning between life and death, having a module reinforcement package. Let's see here. Hull reinforcement. I pretty much put heavy duty on all of these to give them more integrity. Long range frame shift drive. It's only G3 right now. I could get it to G5. It's not really at the top of my list of priorities. I currently have a 27-ish light year jump range, so fairly good. This is slightly multi-purpose, as you can tell. The planetary vehicle hangar, so I can find materials on planet surfaces, run planetary service missions, etc. It's good to have. I do find it interesting how the Anacondas are ships that don't have the military slot, whereas some of the smaller ships do. I find it kind of strange. Now, I'm running lightweight bulkheads. Why aren't you running military grade? So much more defense. Well, yeah, it's more defense, but you turn like shit, and that's already a problem in the Anaconda. And the ability to keep ships out of your blind spots and away from your weak points can be very important. So having this is better. I actually run in lightweight on my FDL as well, instead of military grade. because maneuverability is much more important than having a raw defense, because I'd rather not get shot up, and I prefer shield tanking in all my ships. I'm going to be experimenting with a whole tanking Federal Assault ship soon, but I haven't got around to it quite yet. I'm only doing overcharged 1 on my power plant. I could go get G5, go all out, but there's not really a need to. As you can see, I run all this deployed with no power issues whatsoever. An 8A power plant is extremely expensive. It costs more than the Anaconda itself from stock. I do have G3 dirty drive tuning on this. I could go get G5, and I probably will very soon. It's very good for boost and maneuverability. I have G5 on my FDL, but I haven't got around to getting on this yet. Just, again, not atop my priority. Haven't been material hunting. And just realized that I thought this was a frame shift drive, but it's actually an interdictor. And I use it for grabbing things for, what's it called, merit farming. Whenever I actually get around to that, but I haven't done it yet. Frame shift drive, increase G5, so I have done it. Haven't really got the perfect roll, but it's decent enough. Max fuel and a little bit of optimal mass. Power distributor. There's not really a need to run anything other than charge enhanced. Charge enhanced is amazing. Yeah, you can get weapons focused and you won't have any weapons problems, but then you'll be lacking in other areas, and that's not really something you want. And as you can see, the weapon recharge on this is pretty significant. I think it actually got a roll that was a little bit more focused on it. So while it reduces your overall capacity, what it does is it refills what you have quicker. And it's much better to have more incoming resources rather than losing a huge supply, in my opinion. 8D sensors, I believe, it doesn't tell me, I don't know why it doesn't say, but these are lightweight. Sensors are incredibly heavy. As you can see, there's 64 tons there normally. That is crazy. That'll drop your frame shift drive jump range quite a bit. I don't really see wanting anything else. You can get long range sensors, but then your scan range is smaller and all this, and yeah, I mean your scan angle. As you can see, this lowers your scan angle too, but it reduces the power it requires and it reduces the mass by a ton. I can't really see myself running anything other than lightweight. I looked at wide angle, I looked at long range, I was like, this could be good. I've done a lot of reading on it, and I don't really see personally any other reason to run that. So there is a military compartment on this. I don't know what I was thinking earlier. And I did a thermal hull resistance module reinforcement. Simply because if you're getting hit with a lot of thermal damage on your shields and it actually does manage to drop it, a lot of players will be running thermal weapons anyways. Hi, thank you. But yeah, for those of you just joining, I'm just going over a little bit of an overview here. Again, Anaconda, you kind of run one turreted weapons because things getting in your blind spot is going to be an issue if you're running only gimbaled. I could certainly run more gimbaled weapons. I could definitely put gimbaled weapons on top here. But I just haven't done it yet. I've considered, and I'm probably going to be doing this soon, putting a turreted corrosive multi-cannon with increased capacity down here to just apply debuffs passively, and that'll unlock a large hardpoint for me right here. And I could put something along the lines of, I don't know, change this to an incendiary and then maybe go ham and put a huge plasma accelerator down here? Don't know. Haven't really decided yet. But yeah, that's my overview. I'll probably be doing another stream here in a bit, just a little bit of flying around, answering questions. Most of the knowledge that I've gained from reading forums and just doing my own research. Anytime I have a question come up. If there's any other questions on this, you can go ahead and drop them in the chat now, and I'll be happy to answer them. If not, leave them in the comments, and I will answer them whenever I get to them. So yeah. that is my Anaconda build. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next stream.